Guitar Collector Guy presents Fender Squier Classic Vibe 50's Telecaster. Modding. How far can you go? If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify. I'm starting to have a love affair with Fender Squier guitars. I've not had this much fun modifying guitars in a very long time. They're inexpensive and, to be honest, sound great for the most part without modification. I've had folks though leave negative comments on videos where they see me taking a guitar less than $200 and then I put more than $200 into the guitar and improvements. I don't think they get it at all. There are three basic reasons that folks buy a low-cost guitar and over the course of a year or so spend hundreds more to modify the guitar. Reason one, a person has a limited income and cannot afford to plop down $500 or $2,000 for a ready-made high-end guitar. They can, however, afford to pay a little bit at a time, buying a part here and there as money is available, building upon a low-cost platform like a Squier that eventually allows them to own a guitar that sounds like a guitar that, quite honestly, they cannot afford. Reason two, people like to build things. There's an immense pride in taking something that does not cost a lot to begin with and building something that sounds exceptional, and then being able to stand back and look at it with pride and think, I did that. Reason three, most folks that can afford a high-end ready-made guitar do not feel comfortable in making modifications to the guitar that reduces the value or collectability. I'm positive there are a lot more reasons or combinations of these reasons why people actually modify inexpensive or cheap guitars, but it's not going to stop me, and I try to reason with folks that leave the negative comments, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. On the channel, I've modded so far a Squier Stratocaster and Telecaster, both of the Affinity line, and wanted to try one of the more expensive Squier models. I wanted to take a Fender Squier Classic Vibe 50's Telecaster body and then completely build it out using made in Fender Mexico and US parts and see what turns out in the end. Do they all fit? Can I do it without modifying any of the parts or the body to make it work out? I paid $170 for a brand new Squier Classic Vibe 50's body. The body of an electric guitar is kind of the hub in a wheel. What I mean is that everything for the most part connects to the body. The question I'm trying to answer in this project is, can I take a Fender either made in Mexico or US neck, bridge, pickguard, electronics, and pickups and populate the Squier body with these parts without having to modify either the body or the part to make them fit? If I'm successful, what this tells me is whether or not all the plethora of aftermarket parts that are on the market that are made for the Fender made in Mexico or US made Telecaster lines will also work on the Squier Classic Vibe guitar platform. I started my project by adding a Fender American 3-saddle Telecaster bridge that I installed a very hot Fender Tele bridge pickup out of a Player Telecaster. All the holes aligned perfectly. The six string holes and 4 screw holes all mated perfectly. Next, I installed a Fender pickguard, albeit an 8-hole pickguard when I really needed a 5-hole, and I've already ordered one, but for the sake of the video, I went ahead and just installed the 5 screws and left the other 3 empty. The pickguard had a Fender made in Mexico Telecaster neck pickup installed already. It was also a very hot pickup. Then I installed the output jack cup and loaded control plate, and all lined up and fit perfectly. Starting to see a pattern here that this whole all lined up and fit perfectly, that basically this version of a Squier, although it costs a little more than the Affinity line, is actually set up to actually handle all of the high-end parts and stuff that are on the market. I installed the 2 pickup hot wires and the 2 ground wires. One point to note, I had combined the bridge pickup and the bridge ground into one wire leading to the control cavity. I had also combined the neck pickup ground and the guitar body ground into a single wire, so at the end of the day, all I had to solder to the back of the control pad and the control cavity was 2 ground wires. I seated the necks into the neck cavity and the body, and of course, like I've said before, everything fit and aligned perfectly. I installed the Squier neck plate because I wanted this to be a Squier at the end of the day, and the 4 neck screws. Next, to complete the overall look of the guitar, I installed a vintage string tree and then took the Fender Modern tuners off of the made in Mexico neck and installed the Fender Classic tuning machine heads that are drop-in replacement for the modern 2-pin tuners in a 10mm hole, but they look like the classic slotted head tuners. They look like the classic slotted head tuners found on earlier Telecasters. Next, I had to check the neck relief and adjust the truss rod. Not by a lot, but had to make a minor adjustment, followed by setting up the string height by adjusting the 3 brass saddles. And finally, I checked the intonation and found I only needed to adjust the saddle for the low E and A strings. Now, I'm sitting back and I'm admiring the project's outcome. At the end of the day, I have a very pretty, playable guitar that is completely parts interchangeable with a Fender made in Mexico or US made vintage Telecaster. The body is a beauty for any amount of money that I paid for it. Please know that $170 for a body this nice looking is a really great deal, especially when you take into account that you pay $259 for a made in Mexico Fender Telecaster body and $449 for a US Fender Telecaster body. Thank you for watching Guitar Collector Guy. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you come back and watch more. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify.